So we just got fantastic news from Final Fantasy creator Yoshi-P. Essentially, this has been confirming something that we have very much speculated on, so maybe it's not, an extreme turn of events here, I guess, but nonetheless, it is very good to actually hear this being said by a huge Final Fantasy and Square Enix developer. Obviously, I'm sure you know that Square Enix has been known to very much partner with Sony and oftentimes goes Sony exclusive with their games, so you can only play it on PlayStation and really nothing else. But maybe in the past year or two, it seems that that is very much changing. A lot of Final Fantasy and Square Enix games have been appearing on Xbox platforms and even Game Pass. Phil Spencer even joined Yoshi-P on stage last year during a big Final Fantasy event, and they basically announced that they wanted Xbox and Square to become more of a partner going forward. And we have even heard recently that Square Enix does want to go multi-platform. They've been really considering this. Well, as it turns out, just 2 days ago, a gaming website called 4Gamer actually interviewed Yoshi-P. Now, I have translated this, and sometimes certain things can get lost in translation, but that being said, Yoshi-P did briefly speak on Xbox and other platforms, and basically them wanting to release these games on other platforms, and basically, they were talking about a game called Fantasian. Now, this game was not actually made by Square Enix. It came out about 3 years ago, and it was made by a company called Mistwalker, which was founded actually by a big Final Fantasy creator. So essentially, Fantasian, the game, and Mistwalker, the developing studio, has a lot of ties to Square Enix. This was actually like a mobile-only game, but now 3 years later, in December of this year, so just next month, it is going to be re-released in a sort of enhanced edition on actual non-mobile platforms, and it's actually going to be published by Square Enix. This is going to be called Fantasian Neo Dimension, and so interesting enough, this game is releasing, from what I can see, day one on PlayStation platforms, obviously, but also Xbox, Nintendo, and PC. So going back to this interview, Yoshi-P was talking about this game and how they are releasing it day one, specifically on the Xbox, even though they're also releasing it day one on Nintendo and PC. And he said that they are very happy to do this day one for the Xbox, and he said that, quote, "In the future, Square Enix titles will be released simultaneously on each platform, more and more, but since this is close to the first release, we would like Xbox users to play it as well." Now, that very last part might be kind of a weird mistranslation, I guess. I don't know exactly what he was referring to by the first release or what the translation says anyway, but essentially from what it sounds like, he's saying that with this Fantasian game, they're very happy to release this multi-platform day one, and how more games are going to have this day one release on other platforms going forward for Square Enix, or at least sometime in the future. So I don't know if there's a sort of deal that still has to be worked out in terms of if they have a Sony PlayStation exclusivity deal for maybe another year or two, but he said that specifically for this Fantasian game, for one reason or another, they wanted to find a way to make an exception and release it day one to other platforms. This is, of course, nothing but a great thing to hear. I mean, even if you are a PlayStation fan, I mean, there's absolutely no harm, no foul in having these games be available day one on other platforms. It's very evident, too, that Square Enix sees this as a great move in the long run. It's very much been seen and speculated that Square Enix has not been pleased recently by their recent releases and the sales figures for their PlayStation-only games, and so that is a huge driving force on why they now want to go multi-platform. It's just not working out anymore for them to only exclusively release on one console. And I have to say, too, it is great to hear that, yeah, they are talking about Xbox platforms. He's kind of just referring to that, but that it's very clear that this also involves Nintendo and PC. In fact, to my understanding anyway, I think anymore if you release a game on Xbox, that pretty much means that it is available to play on PC through like the Xbox PC portal. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it's possible anymore to release a game only on Xbox consoles without being available on PC. But it's clear that even with that being said, this also includes Nintendo consoles. So very great stuff. I'm actually also kind of excited to see more about this Fantasian game. It actually does look pretty cool because, side note, besides Kingdom Hearts games, I've really never played a Square Enix game until maybe a month or two ago when I just finished Octopath Traveler 2. That game, by the way, is actually one of the best games that I have ever played. If anybody has not played it, I very much encourage you to try it. And speaking of Xbox, it's actually on Game Pass. That's not an advertisement or anything. I only say that actually to just use that as an example for, again, the partnership, the strong partnership that Xbox and Square Enix seem to have nowadays. And it would seem by Yoshi-P's recent words in this interview that that relationship is only going to continue to go stronger now that Square Enix wants to, going forward, release games day one on all platforms.